Okay, I know I said to give me a day, but I needed to. I knocked out cold. I'm talking like comatose for 12 hours straight. And I'm telling you, I'm a lucid dreamer. No dreams, nothing. Just closed my eyes, woke up. It was the next day. I tried to get up. I did. I promise. I got up, I brushed my teeth, washed my face, and then my body said, you tried it, go back to bed. I slept for another 6 hours, 18 hours total. I tried to pay attention to social media, but honestly, I was really busy. It was my mom's birthday. I had things going on. So today, to make up for it, I'm going to give you 2 videos. Yeah? The majority of you asked for chronological witnesses, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to start with Tim. We are going to review the cross-examination of Tim in this second contempt hearing. And for the 3 of you who struggled with a 25-second preface about my penmanship before getting into the details and getting to the point, I'm going to put a little timestamp down here below for you. Don't worry about it. I got you. However, I do think it's important to let you know now that if you want that content that is stripped of context, that is giving you the bullets, that is getting straight to the point, I might not be the creator for you. This might not be the page for you. I do not rush substance here, so either we get with the program or we might need to find somebody else to watch. Yeah? All right, now that you have the timestamp, feel free to skip ahead because I've got some housekeeping to do before we get into this. When I receive comments like this, I am overjoyed. Like, I mean that sincerely from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much for taking the time to write support like this, to be kind, to be respectful. I appreciate you all showing me how much you enjoy my content. It means the world to me. However, and this is not directed at her because I am telling you right now, whoever you are, darling, I appreciate you and I really do appreciate this comment, but that's why I'm using it as an example. You can raise me up without tearing other people down, and backhanded compliments to me might as well be insults. So I just want to be clear here. I do not appreciate when people say, I love you, unlike so-and-so, or I like you and I prefer you, unlike so-and-so. To me, all that I read is a bashing of somebody else. I'm building a platform where support does not require comparison. If you like what you see here, I'm happy to be here, and that's what we're here for. But there is nothing constructive about leaving me feedback or leaving me criticism or leaving me outright insults about another creator. That gets lost. Anything positive you said before that gets lost in that message. It's that you're coming here to tell me something bad about somebody else. I'm not taking that back to any creator, much less a colleague or friend of mine, because I understand nuance and context. That is their platform, and they are going to talk about it in the way they see fit. I'm going to talk about it in the way I see fit, and that's the beauty of creative expression. As a result of that, I've had to turn on more filters for my comments, and so if you see that your comment didn't post, it's not likely because I deleted it. I hardly delete any comments, unless they are outright offensive, and now, unless they are talking about another creator. I cannot allow that. That is not a safe space. I don't like that. I'm sorry, but I just have to kind of draw the line there. So, those filtered comments will live there until if and when I remember to review them. So I'm just going to let it be known right now. If that's something that doesn't fly with you, again, I may not be the page for you, but I'm just being honest from the get. I do not appreciate the slander of other creators on this platform, and I respectfully ask that you cease and desist. Now for my disclaimer, I am a certified law nerd, bona fide non-attorney. This is not legal advice. Let's jump into the hearing. All right, let me start by setting the scene. At first, Judge Hall began by mentioning that he had either declined or not responded to media requests. He then reminded everyone, no phones, no recordings, no live streams, no media access. So the room was strictly controlled. There was also an unrelated DV matter happening in the courtroom during pauses, so it wasn't exclusively this case being heard in that space. Aside from those parties, BOTG, Tim, and Akira's family, there was no public audience present. Now, do remember, we did not receive full direct examination of Tim during the prior hearing because we were removed from the courtroom, so what we're picking up here is cross-examination only. Attorney Robin begins by referencing a video that Brenay posted. Tim confirms that he recognizes it. She then asks whether Brenay picks and chooses what she posts. In other words, does she pick and choose what questions she answers on Snapchat? Tim responds, yes, it's her freedom of speech. Then she pivots and asks how Brenay refers to the children. We receive an objection. Attorney Hamilton is arguing scope. Attorney Robin rephrases and directly asks whether Brenay refers to the children as step-chickens. Tim mumbles a response I couldn't fully catch in that moment. Then Attorney Robin follows with, does she get paid, and post about her step-chickens? Immediate objection, that is when counsel has to approach the bench. So when they approached the bench, here's what was happening procedurally. These are show cause motions, meaning the court is reviewing specific alleged violations, and it is up to the defense to show cause for said violations and explain why they aren't actually violations. There are two issues in this hearing. First, the graduation incident, which included Brenay, along with Tim and her sister Corinne. I just realized my spell check corrected Corinne's spelling to Corinne. Interesting. They all appeared at Akira's 5-year-old son's graduation after 3 50C no-contact orders had already been issued. One protecting Akira, one protecting her son, one protecting her daughter. Second was a video filmed at a restaurant where Brenay was filming the table and the child, the 5-year-old son, was clearly visible on camera, including his school uniform. Attorney Hamilton's position was that the court needed to stay focused on those two incidents only, and that the line of questioning was regarding Brenay's social media posts, which does not correlate to those two incidents. Attorney Robin was attempting to establish a broader pattern, specifically that the graduation incident led to additional social media posts about the children and that there has been continued posting since. She also, Attorney Robin that is, also reminded the court that during the prior hearing, Judge Hall had discussed the possibility of consolidating some of these show cause motions because of how many had been filed, and FYI, more are probably coming because there has been continued alleged violations. In the end, Judge Hall agreed that while the pattern may be relevant, the court could not expand into additional allegations without reopening testimony properly, meaning without starting from the beginning with Tim, and there simply wasn't time to restart testimony during this hearing. So ultimately, the court decided that the scope had to be limited. So Attorney Robin pivots back to the graduation. She asks how old the child was at the time. Tim answers 5 years old. She references the protective order, and there Tim immediately interjects, nowhere in that order does it say she, Brenay, can't be at the school. For context, on Akira's 50C no contact order, there are boxes that can be checked indicating restricted locations. According to what Attorney Hamilton and the defense is saying, the school box was not checked. That technical detail is what led to the officer at the graduation not removing Brenay from the premises, and this is what Tim is referring to. At this point, Tim's tone is becoming noticeably more combative. I understand being defensive in a contempt hearing, okay? And his responses were sharp and sarcastic, but then they became dismissive and just outright rude. To be fair, what you see publicly is consistent with how he presents himself in court, so no surprise there. When Attorney Robin then references prior testimony in another hearing where Tim and Brenay claimed they were receiving death threats, she asks whether, given those alleged threats, he had concerns about the child's school uniform being visible online. This question ties into the Chili's video where the child is visibly present in full view, including his school uniform. Tim says no. He adds that the child no longer attends that school. Attorney Robin points out that the child had to be pulled from that school, and Tim counters that it was due to behavioral issues, not because of safety concerns. That becomes relevant later when we hear testimony that complicates that explanation. There was also a procedural exchange involving the custody matter, specifically in reference to what the custody order says about what the parents and potentially third parties are allowed to post or say about the children. For clarity, I do not report on the custody case out of respect for the parties involved and because that matter is sealed. However, because this was discussed in open court during this hearing, I am going to share what was said. Attorney Hamilton referenced an order related to custody in support of her objection. Attorney Robin responded that she was present at that hearing and that no such order existed. Judge Hall stated he could not take judicial notice or he could not take into account anything that was ordered by a court unless it was properly produced. He wanted to see that verbiage. That's when Attorney Hamilton responded, "Well, it's sealed, Your Honor." And Judge Hall replied, "Yeah, and I'm a judge." Meaning, if it actually matters, produce it, because this court can review sealed materials. Tim's testimony itself was not that long. Remember, the first half of it, where he was being directly examined, that happened in another hearing. And so many of the questions focused around the events, specifically the restaurant video, the graduation, and then just specific comments that were made about those events. There were also questions about whether Tim acknowledged that Akira had received threats as well. Here, his responses become noticeably dismissive. It seemed clear that from his perspective, the safety concerns being raised were exaggerated. And as objections increased, his tone became sharper and more sarcastic. That's not uncommon in high conflict family litigation, but when the subject matter involves alleged safety concerns about a 5-year-old, that dismissiveness feels extremely heavy. All right, like I said, because I made you wait, you're getting 2 videos today. So next up is Akira's mother, Attorney Sidner. I'll catch you in the next one.